I had some old antenna parts and elements, booms and so forth, so I took some elements here and I got this Haley's Green Edition and tried to figure out how to clean aluminum tubing. Some cream of tartar is what he recommended, mixed with some distilled white vinegar and then some water, of course. I used one of these little 3M pads here to clean it off with. Should really soak this inside a pan or something, but I don't have a pan big enough for the length of these elements, so I'm just going to use the mixture on this pad and clean things off as best I can. And just cleaning off the surface dirt that's collected over the years. These things are probably 30 years old. And once I get it cleaned off, of course, I have to rinse all that stuff off. So I'll just turn on the water over here and clean off the cleaning mixture. And once I've done that, of course, I can move over and put it on a paper towel over here and just keep repeating that until I get all of them done. Well, I've got some bolts from our rescued elements here of our beam. And I've got this plastic sack. I've also sprayed into it a little bit here with the liquid wrench to make sure it doesn't melt anything, which it doesn't. It's a penetrating oil. Toss these guys in here. And just spray it down. And seal this off. And we'll just let those rest there to clean up any grunge that's on those things. And we'll be back later and finish cleaning them off, and then we'll be able to use them on the beam without worrying about it too much. I need to clean the insulators here as well, and so I've got myself a little container to hold them in. This thing says it's about a 3 ounce to 32 ounce ratio here. That's what it says, so 10 to 1. So I'll just put a little bit in there. That's for general cleaning. I might want to be a little stronger than that in this case. So we'll put that much in. And about that much in. And we'll put these guys in. Sort of move them around a little to get some of the loose dirt off. This, by the way, is ZEP all-purpose cleaner. Any cleaner, obviously, would works with plastics and metals would probably do the job. So we'll let those soak and see how clean they get, and we'll brush them off with a toothbrush probably. I always get an extra toothbrush every time I go to the dentist, and so got plenty of toothbrushes around here. And that'll clean up the insulators. We'll let these soak for several hours, just like we're doing with the screws in the liquid wrench. Okay, I've got my toothbrush. I have a paper towel here and some more over here to use to clean these guys off. And I have this to put on my hand when I'm handling the bolts and stuff over here, because that has cutting fluid on it, so don't really want that on my hands. Tastes awful for one thing. So let's take out one of these guys. Let's rub it down with the brush here. All right. And I take one of these half sheets and I can just clean it off with that, see how well it does here. Looks pretty good, good as new. So I'll set that one over here. And that one's done. Take the next one, again scrub it down with the toothbrush to get all the nooks and crannies here. And again, use a paper towel here to clean things off. You may see a cat go by and little furry feet in the background here. My cat is up over here, sort of trying to assist me. Looks pretty good. And here's the last one. As you see, I've got some others here. Now you see there's some grunge still in some of these, and I could clean all that out, but I don't think it's really necessary. Those of you who are more fastidious than me, you can do that if you wish. Maybe a stiffer brush than this toothbrush might do the job better, I'm not certain. But anyway, as it dries, you can see the remainder of dirt that's still clinging on there. But by and large, these guys are fairly well cleaned out. Now, two of these have holes for mounting elements, so I'm going to keep those two together back here. And let's take a look at the... See, these have a little bit of stuff still on them in some places here. I could, again, as I said, I could maybe give that a little bit more of a job here. And like this one's a little grungier than the rest of them. Yeah, this is on there pretty good. So I'd have to take steel wool or something like that to get that out. So I think I'll just say it's good enough. After all, after a month or so in the air, it's probably going to have that much dirt and junk in there anyway from blowing the dust and stuff in the air around here in California. It's a drought year, so we have plenty of dust and dirt floating around on the air. Anyway, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we can do up to a 9-element beam with 1 or 2 driven elements. Well, actually I have more of these with the 2 holes. Let's put them all in the same location back here. And by the way, all of these KLM old style units, you could drill that out just by using that as the guide here and here. But they made 2 different types. The ones with the holes, which are these guys, and the ones without the holes. So those don't have holes, and the ones in the back here have holes. So that takes care of that. Okay, so now for the next section, I'm going to put that aside out of the picture here. And I'll still have this, and put that aside. Move these over here. Bring these up here. I'm going to use this I don't have any plastic gloves or rubber gloves, so I'm going to use this to hold these things with as I brush them off. First I'll dump them out here. Put that over there. Sort of pat them dry here. Get some of the oil, cutting oil off of it. And then sort of pretty them up by doing this. If you have any real grunge here, you can see I can move this up too a little bit and get in here. And then put these over here when I have finished. These are actually in pretty good shape, and I'm not too concerned about them. But anyway, they're cleaned up enough for reuse. I'm getting a little bit on my fingers here, of course, because I don't have anything on that side, but yeah, we're not trying to make a career out of this project. We're just trying to get the beam rebuilt into something more modern in terms of its pattern and gain. Especially since I don't have all the driven element material that was on the old KLM 13LB, which I'm using to rebuild this. The feed on that was a lot more complex, and it's not necessary for operation at the sideband portion of the band. So Mike Stahl was kind enough to sort of calculate out what we needed to do, and where you're going to use a loop to match the coax to the antenna when it gets all assembled. And these are to hold the driven element pieces to the shorter to hold the elements in here. So on this part of this, so that's what those are for, the short ones. Now I could have gone down to the store and gotten a bunch of new stainless hardware, but I didn't see any point since these were in fair condition. Pretty good for being, well, let's see, I probably got that beam 30 years ago, so it's pretty in pretty good shape despite being that old. Now I'm going to wipe these down using the remainder here of this stuff, and they should be in pretty good shape to be used. And I'm going to put my fingers in the depth here and hope that it's good enough to get that stuff off my hands, because if you have ever tasted this kind of oil, it stays in your pores, and it's rather potent stuff, and probably if you get too much of it in your eyes or in your mouth, you might consult a doctor. It's probably not that bad, but certainly isn't good. So anyway, there we go. We have this. Looks a little dirtier than it did before. And this is now available. Now, speaking of cats, who's also here inspecting my work, well, I'm not so sure that this doesn't smell good to them, and they might try to eat it. So I'm going to immediately take this over and put it in the trash can. So that he doesn't start sniffing and slurping on it. While I was at the trash can, guess who usurped my territory here? Well, he is a cat after all. I've come up with a scheme that I think will work for drilling the boom. I have the drill press set up so I can put the end of the boom here, and then I have a board going out here over to the sawhorse to keep things level and allow me to put the boom on that, and then I'll also put a bolt through this block of wood here, which I'll countersink so that the head of the bolt doesn't mess it up. That'll keep the orientation correct as I slide it back and forth while I'm drilling, and that should make sure that all the holes line up. Now, what I've done is I've taken some pieces here, and I've drilled them out to go on the sides of that saddle over there. And I'll make it into a saddle so I can just slide it along and it'll be held in place. And so I'm going to drill the through these holes into the ends of this block. So because it's made out of this pressed wood, I'm going to make a pilot hole for the screws that I'm going to use, which will be this type of screw. And that should do the job for me, holding those on the sides of this block down here. As you can see, I've done a couple of holes here on both ends of this thing so I can put these on there. And these are the screws I'm going to use, so these will go through here and be countersunk a little bit into the hole there. So I'll start that one and start this one. Looks like I got a hole problem over here. Oh, there it is. Alright. And I'm going to have to pull this out a little bit and tilt it so I can actually drill the holes. Or drill the thing. I've got to change my bit, of course. Put this guy in there instead. And then that'll hold that side. And on this side, we'll have to do something similar. Need a couple more of these guys, short ones. And put this through here. Put this through here. Put them in the holes there. So we can get them started properly. And just screw them down. Very simple. So now we have a nice little saddle, and this saddle can go on the wood like this. It's not too tight. There, nice and there we go. Let me pick up the camera here, and I'll show you how that works. Whoops, don't have this clamped onto there yet. Now this is a little tight, which is good because I can always loosen it up. What I can do is on one side I'll put a washer between the board here and this board, and I can paint this later if I want to, so it's all white. Paint the ends of this, but right now this is fine. Please excuse the air conditioner in the background, but I'm right near it. Here we have the trolley or block or whatever you want to call this item. Underneath the boom here, I have a little bit of a notch to keep it aligned and give it side to side support, and I've tightened down the screw as good as I can. This is an existing hole, and so if I try to move it here, as you see, it's not wiggling back and forth because it's supported on either side. Let me take it apart and I'll show you. I've lifted off the boom and just left the screw in there. And as you see, there's a groove, and the groove supports the side-to-side movement of the boom to prevent it from rotating. So when we drill the holes, they all should be firm and in the same direction. There should not be any rotation. So that's what the point is there. I could make this a little deeper, I suppose, but it seems to be doing okay at this level. So we'll leave it at that. As you see here, I've got the vise here clamped on the boom and the drill going into the hole that was already there. So I'm using that as a reference. I'm assuming that this one and the one down at the other end down there where the lock is are all in the same orientation. Could be wrong in that, but we'll find out. But anyway, so everything should be lined up now, and any hole I drill should be in the same orientation as the holes that are already here. Our spacing is going to be a little different, so I don't expect any of the holes to line up. And we're going to put a tape on here so we can keep track of where we want to drill the holes. Okay, I've got this all stable now, and about a ½ inch in here I drilled a hole, and I've got a piece of paper here that gives me all the details as to the spacings. What I did is I've converted the boom position here to feet, inches, and 1/16 of an inch. I've come out here and marked, where'd my pen go? Oh, here it is. I've marked here at 0 feet, let's see what it says here, 0 feet 8 inches right here, and 11/16. So 0, 8, and 15/16. So there's 8/16, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15/16. Yeah. So that would be right here. I had marked the wrong thing, as a matter of fact. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 would be right here. Then the next one is 2 feet, 1 inch, 2/16. So here's 2 feet, 1 inch is 25 inches, and 1/16. 2/16, excuse me, so that's an 1/8 inch. So 25 and an 1/8, which is right here. And then the next one would be 4 feet, so it's out here. There's 4 feet, 0 inches and 15. So it's almost, instead of 48 inches, almost 49 inches. And I just marked that right there. And I can continue to do that all the way along this boom, which I will do. You notice I've taped this here and here and down further. And what I've done there is to try to keep this thing down against the boom so it's accurate. I used just regular electrician's tape and made sure it's wrapped good because of the heat. It's about 92 degrees out here today. Well, it turns out that I drilled my holes and didn't have the camera on, so I'll just sort of punt here. We're right in that hole, and it goes all the way through. And all we do is loosen this a bit, go to the next one, which was right here. And if I turn this on, we go right straight through there. And then go to the next one here. which was marked, and just goes right through there, all the way through. And then the next one was out here. And I come to this thing and I have to do something about that, so let's wind this out. Now I should be able to get past that. Wind this back in. And keep going until we come to the next hole, which was marked right here, so we'll get that lined up here with the thing flat. Tighten that. Goes right through. And I'll do the rest of this after I move this block further down, or actually probably turn it around, turn the whole thing around so that this is still more or less in the center and won't be off the end down there. That way everything will be set up the same way. And I've got one section down there where these holes, the old holes, are not lined up properly, so I'm going to have to figure that out as well. I think it was from a different antenna, so I'll have to readjust the thing slightly for that. So that's how the drilling went. So the next thing we're going to do, I'll again get this widened out so I can get past that one unit. I'll put it about here, I guess, and wind this in, and then I'm going to go get some elements and stick them through here and see how well we did. Well, as you can see, we have a little bit of a problem on the alignment here. I've got two elements, the driven element and the first director, that are a little cockeyed relative to the rest of the antenna. I can drill the holes out on these two to the next size up, and then I can move them around and tighten them down and straighten them out that way. Actually, if you get over to the side of the beam or below it, which of course is what most people are going to see it as, the slight differences there are not that critical. The driven element here has a feed that is looped over, as you can see here. The idea here is to decouple this somewhat by having it away from the boom for about a quarter wave and then tying it down. I'm not using a balance, so that's what I did to control that. And then the loop here is used to raise the impedance from the natural low impedance caused by this design. And it essentially, you're pretending like you're feeding the antenna further out, which of course is higher impedance. Another thing I thought I'd demonstrate is what happens when I wave my hand between the reflector and driven element and the first director, because this match should change, because you should be getting radiation from the elements and changes in phase due to my hand being here. Let's see what happens when I wave my hand around, not touching the elements. That's reflector and driven element. And that's the driven element and the first director.